see what happens. Okay, let's make a start. So we're going to start with some basic simple stuff, and we're just going to look what a number looks like, and that's a number. It's 25.386. So it's just number place values basically. That's the decimal point in the middle, which separates the whole numbers from the part numbers. Tens, they're not called units now, I think they're called ones. The decimal point and then the decimal places. We're not going to be bothered about decimal places this week, so we can kind of forget that little bit for the time being. We're just going to be concentrating on whole numbers, okay? Everybody okay with decimals? We use them when we're talking about money, we use them when we talk about parts of things, bits of things. But we know that that's the decimal point. Like I mentioned before about the calculator, sometimes if you put a number, you get an answer in a calculator and you get the answer of, I don't know, 32,604. Yeah? Sometimes in the calculator you get a little comma there, okay, to separate the 32,000. Basically all that's saying is that that's 32,000, that's 604. A lot of people mistake that for the decimal point, and I've seen it written in exams where they've written, oh, it's 32.604. Where have you got that number from? Because of the point, that's not the point. The point's there. Okay? So just be aware of that in your calculator. Sometimes you get a little comma. It's not a decimal point. So that's the decimal point. So just be aware of that when you're using the calculator. So let's have a look at some place values to start with. It's not basic stuff, but we've got to understand it. Now again, I don't want to concentrate too much on the decimals. They're the green ones. I want to concentrate just on these. There's the decimal point at the end. So you've got your ones, your tens, your hundreds, thousands, then your 10,000s, your 100,000s and your millions. So basically they're just repeated from them. It's like just doubled up. 1, 10 plus 1 is 11, 100 plus 10 plus 1 is 111, and so on and so forth. You know how it works, okay? You know how it works. To make this a bit easier for you, this is how I remember things, and I've tried to help you to remember stuff. If you're talking about millions, you have seven figures in total, 6 after it, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we're talking about 5 million, I'd have 5 and then 6 numbers after it. I then group them in little threes, okay? I group them in threes. So for example, 16 million would be 16 million. Just ignore the decimal point there. Then you've got your 3, 4, 5, 345,123. 123. Makes it a bit easier to understand. Yeah, makes it a bit easier to understand. So your first little task is for you to write 35,307,906 in numbers. That's your first little task. 35,307,906 in numbers. Okay, we all done that? Go on then. What should it read? Anybody. 35 million, so 35, yeah?
Yeah, comma.
Comma, yeah.
And then 307.
307. Yeah.
And then 906.
906. Anybody got anything different to that? Let's see if she's right. You might think that's a nice and easy start, which it is. Questions like that do come up in the exam. A lot of people make the mistake because 307,000, I can't tell you how many people forget to put that naught in. How many people forget to put the 0 in? 906. Yeah, so it's dead important. But they do come up in the calculator paper of an exam. Just do throw one in every now and then, because it's dead easy to make a mistake, especially where these zeros are concerned. But I think we're okay with that, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Can I just ask,
Of course
because
you can.
obviously I've done maths and I don't want to pick up bad habits. Your class is like a clean slate, but where it's got like 5 million and then a comma,
Yeah.
I always do that, so that's not a bad thing.
No,
to
it's
do.
not a bad thing to do. Not a bad thing to do.
So I just do
at all.
it in sections because my head won't do massive numbers.
No, and that's the way to think about maths. That's the way to, and especially this particular thing that we're doing, this course that we're doing, because it's like a marathon, and so is this. It's a big number.
Mm.
You've got to chunk it. Small little chunks.
So then, like putting 2 commas in,
Doesn't matter.
they'll still
Doesn't matter.
read it the same.
Yeah, it still says exactly the same. As long as you don't make it into a point. If you put a decimal point, a dot, full stop, whatever you want to call it, then it would become 35.307, which is the wrong answer. So you just put a comma. And basically all you're doing is separating the millions from
Yeah.
the 100,000s from the hundreds. That's all you're doing.
Yeah.
If you want to do it that way, that's fine.
Yeah.
And I would suggest you just keep it in them little tiny chunks. It does make it a bit easier. When you're saying it back to yourself,
Yeah,
you
it
start
does.
to recognise it a little bit more. Yeah? Start
Yeah.
to recognise it. So far, so good. Right. So we're going to go on to some negative numbers now. Okay? Negative numbers. Integers are just full numbers. That's all what an integer is. It's just a full number. So don't worry about what that word means. It just means a full number. So a number that doesn't have a decimal. When we see a number, that's the wrong. When we see a number, so let's go for the number 26 for example, we know that that's the number 26. Okay? It's what's called a positive number. Okay? A positive number. It doesn't need to have a plus sign at the front of it because we know it's positive. What distinguishes it from a negative number is the fact that the negative number has a minus sign in front of it, or a subtraction sign, or a negative sign. That distinguishes it from being a positive number, a plus number. So we know that that is now a negative number, minus 26. Okay? And these positive and negative numbers are all built around this number line. The number line has a 0 in the middle, and then it's split up into the increments. Obviously you've got the matching ones on the other side. Okay, so your negative numbers, your minus numbers if you want to call them minus numbers, are always on the left hand side. Okay, your positive numbers are always on the right hand side. And if you want to count between the two, all you do, you just move backwards and forwards along the line. Nice and straightforward. So let's imagine, let's fast forward to December. Not that I want to fast forward to December, but let's fast forward to December. It's a chilly day outside. In fact, it's only 4 degrees. There it is, it's 4 degrees outside. We've got the weather forecast on. The weather forecast says it's going to drop cold tonight. In fact, we think the temperature's going to drop by 8 degrees. Ooh, what's it going to be tomorrow? So what we've actually got there, we've got 4, which is the temperature what it is now. It's going to drop, so it's going to minus by 8 degrees. So there's the sum, 4 minus 8. So what's the temperature going to be overnight? So this is what we do. We start at 4, then we minus, and when we minus we come to the left 8 places. We're just doing exactly what it says in the sum. 4 take away 8. 1, 2, 3. You must count the 0, it is a number. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So tonight the temperature will be minus 4. It's as easy as that, just counting backwards and forwards. But then when we get up in the morning, the weather forecast, oh, it's going to be a beautiful day. It's not going to get much warmer, but it's going to improve the temperature. We think the temperature is going to rise by 6 degrees. Oh, very nice. So we're here, we're -4. That's the temperature we are now. It's going to increase, it's going to rise, it's going to go up. That's a plus because it's going up. What did it say? 6 degrees? There's the sun. -4 plus 6. So we start here, and remember plus goes that way to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2. There we go. And it's as easy as that. Yeah? Just moving backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. Now people, it gets a bit confusing in a second because of what I'm going to tell you next. And people say, oh, I know something from school, that if the signs are different, the answer's negative. If the signs are the same, the answer's positive. There, we've got 2 different signs. Why is the answer not different? The answer's not different there because we're writing down and we're doing the sum by saying exactly what we're supposed to be saying. But the temperature is -4. It's going to increase, which is plus 6 degrees. -4 plus 6 is 2. We know that because we've just done it on that line. The only reason why that saying comes into effect is if you're multiplying positive and negative numbers, which is what we're going to look at next. Is that okay with everybody, yeah? Just adding and subtracting positive and negative numbers. It's like catchphrase, you just say what you see. Yeah. So, just a few little questions to test you to start with. The temperature range of the South Pole from 4 months is shown in the table. What are the changes in temperature per month? So this is quite, just to get your brains working a little bit. What's the difference in temperature between -56 and -64? What's the difference in temperature?
8.
Is it minus?
8. It's just 8 degrees, yeah? What about August?
8
8 again. Can't be 8 this next time, surely. September, go on, what's September?
6.
6. And finally October. It is 5. My answer's going to say 7. It is 5. Yeah, it is 5. It needs changing. That should be a 5. So it is 5 degrees, yeah. So that's easy, basic stuff, yeah. You could get asked a question like that in the exam. Yeah, you could get asked a question like that. So let's look at some multiplying positive and negative numbers. So we've got this sum up here on the board. We've got -4 multiplied by -3 equals what? Okay, -4 times -3 equals what? Right. So first of all, let me just rewrite that sum on this particular board. Here we go. Just make sure that's dried off. So first things first, what have we got here? We've got a sum. These two are your numbers, your 4, your 3, okay? Or your -4 and your -3. 2 negative numbers. That's a negative number, that's a negative number. I just like put a circle around them in a green pen. So that's a negative number, that's a negative number. This in the middle here, the times sign, is what's called the operation. There are only 4 operations in maths. It's addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. So that's an operation, and it's telling us basically what we're going to do with that number and that number. So we focus on the 2 numbers, -4 multiplying -3. 2 negative numbers. So the way to work this out is this quite straightforward thing to remember. Ignore these 2 signs, or call them signs. So ignore the 2 negative signs, just ignore them. Pretend they're not there. So if they're not there, what we're left with? We're left with 4 times 3. Yeah? I've just removed those 2. do the sum. 4 times 3 is 12. Yeah? And then we apply this little mantra. And the little mantra is this. When the signs are the same, the answer is positive. Those two signs are the same. They're both negative signs, aren't they?
Sorry, excuse me, Pete.
Yes.
Are we allowed to take a picture?
I'll send you this anyway.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll send you this anyway. What I've found in the past with people, it keeps interrupting the set people taking pictures, and somebody else will get the phone and take a picture. So that's why I recommend those to be better. So we've got two negative signs there. The signs are the same, which they are. The answer is always positive. Now we don't have to draw a positive sign because we know that that's a positive number. So the answer is 12. Yeah, makes sense. When the signs are different, the answer is negative. So if this sum would have read minus 4 times 3, what would be here in front of this 3, what would be, we don't have to put it in because we know it's a positive number, would be a plus sign. So we put that method into action, ignore the signs, 4 times 3 is 12, then look at the signs, we've got a negative 4 and a positive 3, so we've got two different signs. When the signs are different, the answer is always negative. So the answer there would be negative 12 or minus 12. Does that make sense? Yeah? Does that make sense? So if you're faced with a multiplication question using positive and negative numbers, things to remember. 1, just ignore the signs for the time being, do the sum. The sum there is 4 times 3, which gives you 12. Then, once you've got the answer, apply the simple rule. When the signs are the same, the answer is always positive, so it stays as 12. If the signs are different, the answer is always going to be negative. So bearing that in mind, minus 7 times 3. Minus 7 times 3. Anybody?
Minus 21.
Minus 21. Let's see if you're right. Absolutely. What about minus 9 times minus 2? Somebody else?
Minus 18.
Ooh.
What did it say?
Minus 9 times minus 2. You said it right the first time.
18.
18. 3 times minus 12.
Minus 36.
Minus 36. Let's see if we're right. Yeah, because the signs are different, so the answer's negative. What about minus 5 times minus 3?
50.
Look at that. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, how am I going to remember that, Pete? How can I remember it? Well, I'm going to try to give you a little aid to help you to try and remember it, okay? And it's this. Just do it, that's the Nike slogan, is a positive statement. Just do it. Pass your exams, positive statement. Just don't do it. That's a negative statement, isn't it really? Saying not to do something. Just don't not do it. Don't not are two negatives. But added together, it makes a positive. Don't not pass your exam. That's a positive statement. Two negatives make a positive. Positive, negative, two negatives make a positive. Okay? So far so good? Alright, you guys have to do a bit of work now. You're going to crack the code. You're going to crack the code. Because we've been learning what positive and negative numbers are. We know that negative numbers are numbers that are thinking about the number line, the numbers that are less than a zero, aren't they? They're on the right hand side, sorry, on the left hand side of zeros. So now you're going to crack the code. Here we go. So what we've got here, we've got the alphabet across the top. Directly underneath that we've got some numbers. Now that's a number line, there's the 0. It's not in the middle because you've got more numbers on one side of the other, but there's the 0. Here are the negative numbers on the right hand side, sorry, on the left hand side as you look at it, and here are the positive numbers. You've got some sums here. You work out the sum by basically just doing exactly what it's telling you to do and just moving along the number line. You'll get an answer. So the first one is minus 2 plus 5. How are we going to work that out? So we start at minus 2 here with plus 5. Remember, plus is that way. So we plus 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The answer is L. Sorry, the answer is 3. Put the answer 3. It corresponds to the letter L. Then we just carry on until we get to the end. The only one you need to worry about is the fourth one, because the fourth one is one of these multiplications. The rest of them are just adding backwards and forwards along the line. And there's your number line. Fairly straightforward, nice and simple, nice and easy to do. The question is, what is a negative number? Let's see if we can sort that out between us. Off you go, ladies. Don't think too deep into it. It's easier than you think.